Picture this. A man explodes in front of you. His voice cracks. His face flushes. His entire nervous system is screaming for one thing: your reaction. He wants you to push back. He wants you to justify yourself. He wants noise, friction, chaos. Because chaos is the only terrain where he feels powerful. Now imagine you deny him that terrain. You don't flinch. You don't tighten your jaw. You don't even blink. You simply look at him calm, still, unreadable, like a scientist observing a failed experiment. In that instant, the balance of power shifts. His anger has nowhere to land. His words fall into a void. And the void does something terrifying to the human mind. It turns certainty into confusion. Confusion into self-doubt. And self-doubt into fear. Because when a man cannot read you, he cannot control you. When he cannot control you, he begins to feel small. This is the power of being unreadable. Most men never experience it. They live their entire lives inside reaction. Someone insults them, they snap. Someone praises them, they glow. Someone ignores them, they spiral. They believe they are choosing their responses, but they're not. They're responding to stimuli like machines. Predictable, programmable. Pull the string, get the behavior. They call that freedom. It isn't. It's obedience disguised as personality. But there is another way to exist in the world. A colder way. A quieter way. A way that doesn't announce itself but dominates every room it enters. This is the way Machiavelli hinted at when he spoke of princes who survived courts filled with knives and whispers. He understood something most people still refuse to face. Power does not come from expression. It comes from containment. Think about how human interaction actually works. Beneath every conversation is a silent agreement. I show you mine, you show me yours. I raise my voice, you raise yours. I joke, you laugh. I attack, you defend. It's a rhythm, a feedback loop, and it feels safe because it's predictable. Predictability gives the illusion of control. Now break that rhythm. Someone insults you and you don't respond the way they expect. You don't defend. You don't counterattack. You don't perform wounded pride. You simply observe. The loop collapses. And when the loop collapses, their mind panics. It starts searching for meaning. It fills the silence with its own insecurities. Why isn't this working? Does he know something I don't? Is he above me? Did I miscalculate? You didn't say a word. Yet you've taken control. This is why silence, when used correctly, feels violent to the untrained mind. It deprives people of feedback, and without feedback, the ego cannot orient itself. It starts unraveling. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He watched men rise and fall not by strength, but by predictability. The ones who showed their emotions openly, their anger, their fear, their excitement, were easy to trap. If you know what a man loves, you can bait him. If you know what he hates, you can provoke him. If you know how he reacts, you can steer him. But the ones who wore masks, who practiced simulation and dissimulation, survived. Not because they were cruel, but because they were unreadable. You cannot corner what you cannot map. You cannot manipulate what you cannot predict. Predictability is not a virtue. It's a liability. Look at your own life. How many times have you rushed to explain yourself, to clarify your intentions, to make sure you were understood? In those moments, you thought you were being reasonable. In reality, you were surrendering leverage. You were revealing what moves you. You were advertising where you can be disturbed. A powerful man does not need to be understood. He needs to be effective. Explanation places you on trial. Silence places others under observation. This is where most people break, because silence creates tension, and tension feels unbearable to the untrained nervous system. The average man will destroy his own position just to relieve it. He'll overtalk. He'll apologize unnecessarily. He'll make a joke to soften the moment. He'll do anything to restore comfort. The dangerous man does the opposite. He lets the tension stretch. He sits inside it. He understands that the longer the silence lasts, the more the other person reveals, through body language, tone, nervous movement, unnecessary words. Silence turns the other person into the speaker and you into the judge. Think of the difference between a dog and a lion. The dog reacts to everything. A sound, a shadow, a passing stranger. Bark, bark, bark. It has no restraint, no choice. The lion can lie still for hours, watching, waiting, not wasting energy. And when it moves, the outcome is final. Men are not afraid of the lion because it is loud. They fear it because it is still. To become unreadable, you must kill the part of you that needs immediate validation, the part that needs to be right, the part that needs to be seen as good, fair, reasonable. Let people misunderstand you. Let them underestimate you. Let them build entire narratives about who you are based on incomplete data. While they assume, you calculate. This is not emotional suppression. It's emotional mastery. Suppression denies emotion. Mastery contains it. Like a reactor core, immense energy inside, reinforced walls outside. You feel the anger. You feel the insult. You feel the impulse to react, but you don't let it leak. Nothing exits without permission. Between stimulus and response, there is a gap. Most men live without that gap. They are fused to their environment. Expand the gap, and time slows down. Control enters. Status shifts. High-status individuals move slower. They speak slower. They pause. Low-status individuals rush. They interrupt. They over-explain. Speed is fear trying to outrun judgment. Slowness is ownership of the moment. When you delay your reaction, you signal something primal. I am not threatened. I am not rushed. I am not governed by you. And that signal terrifies men who live inside reaction, because deep down, they know the truth. If they cannot move you, they cannot control you. To understand why being unreadable exerts such gravity, you have to look beneath behavior and into the architecture of the human mind. Humans are not rational creatures first. We are social creatures first. For thousands of years, survival depended on being legible to the group. If the tribe could not read you, you were a threat. If you were a threat, you were expelled. And expulsion meant death. So, evolution carved a deep hunger into us, the need for feedback. We need to know where we stand. We need to see our reflection in other people's reactions. Approval calms the nervous system. Disapproval alarms it. This is why most men live on a leash made of facial expressions, tone shifts, and subtle cues. They don't notice the leash because it feels like connection, but it is still a leash. When two men interact, there is usually an unspoken contract. I show you mine, you show me yours. I push, you push back. I smile, you smile. It's a dance, predictable, comfortable, and utterly controllable. The moment you violate that contract, something ancient wakes up in the other person's brain. Because you've removed the mirror. Imagine someone throws an insult at you. Not loud, not explosive, just sharp enough to test you. The expected response is defense, or aggression, or humor. Anything that confirms you are playing the same game. But you don't. You pause. You look at them. You say nothing. You might nod once. Then you continue as if nothing happened. What just occurred is not politeness. It is dominance through ambiguity. The insult was meant to provoke a reaction. When no reaction comes, the mind has to resolve the mismatch. The grenade was thrown, but it didn't explode. It vanished. And now the thrower is holding the pinless aftermath in his own hands. Did he hear me? Did I misjudge him? Did I expose myself? This is why unreadable men are unsettling. They create open loops, and the human mind hates open loops. It will spin endlessly trying to close them. That spinning drains energy, confidence, and composure from the other side, while you expend nothing. Machiavelli understood this intimately. He lived among men who smiled while sharpening knives. In that environment, predictability was not a personality trait. It was a death sentence. The princes who reacted visibly, who displayed rage, joy, fear, excitement, were easy to map. Easy to bait, easy to destroy. But the ones who mastered variability survived. They were inconsistent by design. Calm one day, severe the next, warm when it served them, distant when it didn't. Not chaotic strategic. Their enemies could never be sure which version would appear, and uncertainty paralyzes action. If I know how you respond to pressure, I can manufacture that pressure on demand. If I know you crave approval, I can withhold it until you comply. If I know you explode when disrespected, I can trigger you at will. But if your response is independent of my action, my leverage collapses. This is the core of unreadability. Your internal state is no longer hostage to external stimulus. Most men leak information constantly. Their face reveals irritation before their words do. Their tone sharpens when pride is touched. Their body stiffens when they feel challenged. They are glass boxes, every gear visible. Someone presses a button, the mechanism whirs, and the output is immediate. You must become a black box. In systems theory, a black box is a system where inputs and outputs are visible, but the internal process is hidden. You don't know how the conclusion was reached. That mystery changes how people interact with it. They become cautious, respectful, deliberate. When you are a black box, people stop pushing randomly. They hesitate. They measure their words. They watch for signals that never come. And in that hesitation, you gain time. Space, control. This requires a specific discipline. Dissociation without numbness. You don't eliminate emotion. You step back from it. You feel anger arise and you observe it. You feel the urge to explain and you restrain it. You feel the impulse to react and you delay it. There is a microscopic gap between stimulus and response. Most men collapse that gap instantly. The unreadable man widens it, and in that widening, he slows the world down. Notice how men of status behave under pressure. They do not rush. They do not fill silence. They allow pauses to exist. Low-status individuals fear silence because silence feels like judgment. High-status individuals use silence as judgment. In negotiation, the one who speaks first often loses. A price is named. The amateur responds immediately, accepting, countering, justifying. The unreadable man waits. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. 10. The other side begins negotiating against themselves just to escape the pressure of the quiet. Silence does not argue. It compresses. This is why unpredictability breeds fear, not the fear of violence, but the fear of the unknown. The human brain is wired to fear what it cannot map. Darkness, depth, still water. A silent man triggers the same circuitry. Is he harmless? Is he dangerous? Is he brilliant? Is he empty? The mind cannot resolve it, so it assigns power by default. Appearance becomes reality. You may not be unshakable, but if you appear unshakable, people hesitate to test you, and hesitation is often enough. The mistake most men make is confusing this with repression. They think silence means swallowing emotion until it explodes. That is weakness. What you are building is containment. Like a fortress. Inside the walls, heat, force, intensity. Outside, structure, calm, precision. Nothing exits without purpose. Before you speak, one question stands guard at the gate. Does this serve my objective? If the answer is no, the words stay locked inside. If the answer is yes, they are released cleanly, sparingly, lethally. This is not about never reacting. It's about choosing when your reaction becomes a weapon. And that choice, that sovereignty over your inner state, is what terrifies other men. There is a moment every man eventually faces, though few recognize it as a crossroads. Someone disrespects you publicly. A colleague undermines you in a meeting. A partner tests your boundaries. Your ego ignites instantly. Blood heats, muscles tense. Every instinct screams, respond now or lose status. This is where most men fail, not because they react, but because they believe reaction equals strength. It doesn't. Reaction is exposure. When you react automatically, you hand the other person the map of your nervous system. You show them exactly where to press next time, and there will always be a next time. Power, once revealed, invites challenge. Power, once concealed, invites caution. Machiavelli was explicit about this. He never advised rulers to be permanently cold or passive. He advised them to be variable, to be unreadable, to avoid becoming trapped in a single pattern of behavior. Because the moment your behavior becomes predictable, your fate can be engineered by someone else. If you always explode at disrespect, you can be provoked into destruction. If you always seek harmony, you can be coerced into compromise. If you always explain yourself, you can be interrogated without resistance. But if your reaction is not guaranteed, control evaporates. This is why emotional independence is so unsettling to people. They are used to steering others with pressure, praise, guilt, or fear. When none of these levers work, they feel powerless. And humans respond to powerlessness with anxiety. To develop this independence, you must separate emotion from action. Feelings are data, not directives. Anger does not mean act. Fear does not mean retreat. Desire does not mean pursue. They are signals, useful, informative, but not authoritative. Think of yourself as a commander receiving battlefield reports. The report may say, "Enemy spotted." That does not mean charge blindly. It means observe, assess, decide. Most men skip assessment. They charge. This is why Machiavelli emphasized reputation over intention. Not because intention is irrelevant, but because the world does not operate on intention. It operates on perception. And perception is shaped by what people can see, not by what you feel inside. If you are easily shaken, you will be treated as fragile. If you are easily angered, you will be treated as unstable. If you are easily pleased, you will be treated as disposable. But if your internal world remains opaque, people are forced to interact with you carefully. They don't know what will land. They don't know what will provoke action. They don't know where the line is. So they assume the line is everywhere. This is why silence after provocation is so powerful. You are not conceding. You are not retreating. You are refusing to accept the frame offered to you. You are saying without words, "This interaction does not qualify for my energy." And energy is everything. Every argument drains it. Every unnecessary explanation leaks it. Every emotional performance gives it away. Most men are exhausted not because life is hard, but because they waste their energy reacting to people who do not matter. Machiavelli would call this a strategic failure. He understood that power must be conserved. A ruler who responds to every insult invites endless insult. A ruler who ignores most slights and responds only when it serves him teaches restraint through unpredictability. This is why calculated displays of emotion are sometimes necessary. A sudden, controlled burst of anger can reset boundaries. A brief show of warmth can secure loyalty. But these expressions are chosen, not triggered. Performed, not leaked. The difference is everything. When you perform emotion, you remain in control. When emotion performs you, you become predictable. Most men confuse intensity with dominance. They believe volume equals authority. But watch truly powerful individuals. They rarely raise their voice. They rarely justify themselves. Their presence alone sets the tone. When they speak, it's brief. When they act, it's final. They are not trying to win arguments. They are trying to win outcomes. This demands ego death. Your ego wants to be seen as strong, right, respectable. It wants the last word. It wants recognition. Machiavelli would tell you this desire is your greatest weakness. The man who needs to prove himself can always be baited into self-destruction. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be effective? Often, you cannot be both. There is an old story of a general challenged publicly by a young soldier. The soldier insults him, spits at his feet, demands a duel. The general wipes the spit away and walks on. His men are furious. They call him weak, cowardly. Later he says, "If a donkey kicks you, do you kick it back?" Status is not defended by reaction. It is defended by position, by refusing to descend. When someone insults you, they are attempting to pull you into their frame, their emotional level, their game. Silence denies them that victory. It leaves them alone with their aggression, and aggression, when unreflected, collapses inward. Here is the deeper truth most men avoid. Insults only hurt when they resonate with insecurity. The man who knows his capacity does not feel threatened by words. The man who fears being weak acts tough. The man who knows he is dangerous does not advertise it. This is the paradox. True strength looks like restraint. True dominance looks like calm. True power often looks like absence. You are not here to play the game of status displays. Who is louder? Who is sharper? Who looks tougher? That game is endless and exhausting. You are here to play the game of outcomes. What moves the situation in my favor? What preserves my leverage? What costs the least energy for the greatest effect? Sometimes the answer is silence. Sometimes it is distance. Sometimes it is a single sentence delivered without emotion. But it is never uncontrolled reaction. Machiavelli was not immoral. He was clinical. He treated human interaction like an engineer treats a machine. If something breaks, you don't shout at it. You don't plead with it. You adjust pressure. You change input. You withhold fuel. When you adopt this clinical detachment, people feel it immediately. They sense they are not dealing with someone who can be pulled apart emotionally. They sense they are being observed, not engaged. And that sensation, the feeling of being seen without being able to see back, is profoundly unsettling. Because now, the game is no longer mutual, and you are no longer equal. At some point, silence in the moment is no longer enough. There is a deeper layer of unreadability that Machiavelli understood. A silence stretched across time. Absence. Not dramatic withdrawal, not confrontation, but a quiet reduction of availability that forces others to feel the weight of what they assumed was permanent. Most men fear absence. They believe if they step back, they will be forgotten, that if they don't explain, they will be misjudged, that if they don't chase, they will lose. This fear keeps them tethered, always replying, always clarifying, always present. And presence without selectivity destroys value. Familiarity breeds contempt because familiarity removes mystery, and mystery is leverage. Machiavelli saw this clearly. A prince who is always visible becomes ordinary. A man who is always reachable becomes manageable. When access is guaranteed, respect decays. Not because people are evil, but because the human mind assigns value through scarcity. Think about it. Gold is valuable not because it is useful, but because it is rare. Air is essential, yet free, because it is everywhere. When your attention is everywhere, it is treated like air. When it is scarce, it becomes gold. Strategic absence is not punishment. It is recalibration. You stop being the man who responds instantly. You stop filling every gap with reassurance. You stop explaining your decisions to people who never needed explanations from you. You don't announce the shift. You don't justify it. You simply redirect your energy toward your mission, and something strange happens. People begin to feel the void. Conversations lose momentum without you. Dynamics feel unstable. Those who relied on your availability start questioning themselves. Did I do something wrong? Did he change? Did I misjudge my position? This is the Zeigarnik effect at work, the mind's obsession with unfinished loops. Closure comforts people. It packages the story neatly and allows them to move on. Absence denies closure. It leaves the story open, and open stories haunt the mind. This is why walking away without explanation is so powerful. You don't block. You don't explode. You don't dramatize. You simply fade. Replies shorten. Availability narrows. Focus shifts elsewhere. The other person is left alone with the uncertainty, and uncertainty is pressure. In business, this is leverage. The amateur negotiates emotionally. He argues. He convinces. He explains. The Machiavellian does something else. When the terms are wrong, he stands up, shakes hands, and says, "This doesn't work for us." Then he leaves. No counteroffer. No justification. Now the other side must chase. And whoever chases has already lost power. In relationships, the same law applies. When someone tests you by pulling away, most men panic. They chase. They overinvest. They seek reassurance. The unreadable man mirrors distance, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. He continues his mission. He signals desire without need. That distinction is everything. Need is heavy. It smells like dependency. Autonomy is light. It creates pull without effort. When someone senses you are willing to lose the interaction rather than betray yourself, their perception of your value changes instantly. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler relies on what is within his control, not on what belongs to others. If you cannot walk away, you are owned. If you can, you are free. You and free men terrify those who live in chains. Think of the men you instinctively respect. Do they over-explain? Do they apologize for their boundaries? Do they chase attention? No, they have gravity. Their lives orbit around purpose, not validation. If you enter their orbit, fine. If you leave, the system continues unaffected. This is abundance, weaponized. It says, "My direction matters more than your approval. My time is not negotiable. My presence is earned." Scarcity amplifies this effect. Oversharing destroys it. In a culture obsessed with broadcasting every thought, the man who reveals nothing becomes magnetic. His few words are analyzed. His actions are scrutinized. People search for meaning because meaning is not handed to them. You are no longer consuming attention. You are the resource. But this level of detachment exposes the real enemy, your ego. Your ego wants to be seen as good, as fair, as reasonable. It wants closure. It wants acknowledgement. Machiavelli would tell you this desire is the final chain. Being right is comforting. Being effective is decisive. Often, you must choose. To master unreadability, you must be willing to look foolish in the short term to win the long war. You must allow misinterpretation. You must tolerate discomfort. You must resist the urge to correct the story others tell about you, because the man who constantly defends his image is ruled by it. Silence over time does something profound. It filters your world. Those who only valued your availability drift away. Those who respected your presence adapt. The noise falls off. What remains is clarity. And clarity is power. This is not cruelty. It is refinement. You are not disappearing from the world. You are withdrawing from dynamics that drain you. You are choosing where your energy compounds rather than leaks. Machiavelli was a realist. He did not ask how the world should treat you. He asked how it actually does. And the world respects men who respect themselves enough to be unavailable on demand. Absence, when intentional, does not weaken your influence. It concentrates it. Everything you've heard until now leads to one final realization. The true battle was never with the screaming man, the manipulator, the rival, or the world itself. The real enemy has always been inside you. Your need to react, to be seen, to be validated. That need is the leash. And the moment you cut it, something irreversible happens. You become self-governing. Most men are ruled by impulse. They think power is movement, saying something, doing something, proving something. Machiavelli understood the opposite. Power begins the moment you no longer need to move on command. When you stop reacting, the world starts reacting to you. You set the tempo. You become the still point around which chaos turns. This is why unreadability feels cold. Because warmth seeks approval. Coldness seeks clarity. And clarity is unforgiving. When you are no longer emotionally available to every provocation, you see reality without distortion. Insults lose their poison. Praise loses its grip. You are no longer bribed by affection or threatened by rejection. This is freedom. But freedom has a cost. It isolates you from the herd. The herd is loud, reactive, emotional. It bonds through noise. When you step out of that rhythm, you will feel the quiet immediately. At first it feels empty. Then it feels lonely. And then it feels powerful. Because in that quiet, your will becomes audible. Machiavelli would tell you that leadership, of others or of yourself, begins here. A man who cannot rule his inner state cannot rule anything else. If traffic, comments, disrespect, or silence from others can hijack your mind, you are not sovereign. You are occupied. Unreadability is the restoration of sovereignty. It does not mean you never speak. It means your words are rare and deliberate. It does not mean you never act. It means your actions are timed. It does not mean you feel nothing. It means nothing uses you without permission. From this point forward, you watch more than you speak. You pause where you once rushed. You withdraw where you once chased. And in doing so, you reverse the direction of power. Others begin adjusting to you, not because you demand it, but because they must. This is the awakening. Tomorrow, someone will test you. A small irritation, a subtle provocation, a moment designed to pull you back into reaction. Catch it, pause, feel the impulse, and refuse it. Let silence answer. Watch what happens. You will feel it, a quiet surge of control, not over them, over yourself. That is the skill that terrifies other men. Not dominance, not aggression, but the absolute refusal to be moved by anything other than your own will. Once you taste that, you don't go back. You can't.